What are the macros? You hear that word thrown around. Oh, I'll count my macros. I'm on a macro diet. Oh, what are your macros? Can be very confusing if you don't know what those are. So I'm Christine Anvil, educator, creator, and world champion athlete, to give you a quick rundown on how to count your macros. So protein, number one macro, we're all talking about it. I like to talk in terms of calories, not kilojoules, but there are that's 4 calories per gram of protein. Now, that doesn't mean that there's 4 calories per gram of chicken or per gram of steak. What that means is the protein within that has the 4 calories. So something like a steak might have 10 or even 20% fat. So therefore you've got to count everything that goes into that particular food, and something like a steak might have 28 grams of protein for every 100 grams of steak, and that's before you cook it. So fat, that's another macro. Fat has 9 calories per gram, so that's more than double what protein has, and it's more than double what carbohydrate has. So that's why the big fuss about people trying to limit their fat is because it's really easy to get lots of calories from fat very, very quickly. So 1 gram of it gives you 9 calories of energy. A lot of fat foods are pure fat, so think about olive oil. It's pretty much 100% fat. So you have a gram of olive oil, that's 9 calories. Carbohydrate, of course, is still the same as protein. It's 4 calories per gram. With carbohydrate, if you're talking about something like a packet of chips or some crispy crackers or something like that, they're very, very high in carbohydrate, because obviously something like rice, where there's water added, water dilutes the carbohydrate. So for every gram of that rice, you're going to have less carbohydrate than in something which is like a dry cracker carbohydrate type of product. Then we have fiber. So fiber still has calories, tiny little bit of calories, has about 2 calories. So it's about half of what's in carbohydrate, but we still do have to count them. But fiber is essentially what your body doesn't digest. There's different types of fiber. There's soluble and insoluble. What that basically means is that the insoluble type does not break down, and it will just scours through your body. That's all the fiber and the undigestible stuff. And then the soluble is the one which is it's soluble, and it goes into your bloodstream and it clings onto the cholesterol, and it basically pulls it out of the system. So very, very healthy and very important that you have that. It's also a great food for the bacteria that lives in your intestine, in your gut. So that's part of why it's so great for health. Water I count as a macro, because we don't often talk about it, but it's the basis of, it has no calories. So that's a great, so yes, I do count water as a macro. It has 0 calories, so you can have unlimited water, but it's essential to allow all of the processes that happen in your body, particularly digestion, different nerve processes, in what we call an aqueous environment in our body. 80% of our muscle is water, so it's very important that we're well hydrated, because if we don't, we can everything can kind of come to a grinding halt. Other items which are considered, which are not really true macros, are things like what we call sugar alcohols. They do not digest, they do not metabolize like what a carbohydrate does, so it doesn't impact your blood sugar, but they do have calories just the same. So that's very important to remember that. But they do fall anywhere between sort of like the calories of a fiber up to the same amount of calories as a carbohydrate. So we can't ignore those in the diet. Just because they don't raise your blood sugar doesn't mean to say they don't add to your calorie count.